Greetings and welcome to Fresh Fire International Ministries Wisdom Wednesday video. This week's title is Please Don't Ask for Commitment. Please don't ask for commitment. I'm Pastor Janice Fareed Hardy. Once, when visiting relatives in the South, I was boarding the train to head home to the North. I was a very young elementary school child, and my grandmother and great grandmother, and possibly others, were standing on the platform. Our routine was that they would stay on the platform waving until my train was out of sight. At that time, it was too expensive for two of my family members to travel together. So my grandmother would alert the traveler's aide, and that was someone who would be on the train back then who would look out for children, for the elderly, for the sick, whatever. So my grandmother alerted the traveler's aide to look out for me, and my grandmother also would find a compassionate conductor and ask him to watch out for me. At that time, all the conductors were men. There were no women, female conductors. And that system worked. Okay. But this time, my great grandmother told me she had to board the train with me. Okay. And she had to walk with me to my seat. That was very unusual. When she got to my seat, she made sure I was comfortable and she told me, listen, when you come back, I won't be here. And she just looked at me for a little while and then she left the train. As a very young child, I didn't understand her words. They made no sense to me, but I held them in my heart and memory because I knew she was not one to waste her words. Unfortunately, my grandmother was right. When I returned a few years later, she was kind of no longer there. Actually, she was in a coma. And in those Jim Crow days in my part of the South, sick black people were not kept in the hospital. They were kept at home. Okay. So for a while before I arrived, my grandmother had been lying there motionless, yet breathing. The responsibility to care for her and even feed her liquid food, homemade liquid food with a spoon or whatever container they could find. Gently putting that food into her mouth and making sure that it went down. Okay, all of that responsibility and all of the responsibility for her fell on my grandmother and my young aunts. May God forever bless them and their seed. Okay, for the many sacrifices that they made in that effort and in others. At that time, a local black doctor would visit the home from time to time, yet the make do nurses, okay, were the family who also had to simultaneously go to work every day, they had to go to school every day, and they had to figure out how to be there for a totally unresponsive or non responsive relative in a coma. My great grandmother never recovered from that coma, and she died quietly in the house. Yet she was right. And God had let her know that all relationships as she knew them were about to end. That's the mercy of God. So she was physically there, but not there as the person I had known. Okay. There was no communication. In my mind, there was no relationship. My grandmother was gone, even though she was still breathing. She was right. My point is, all the way to her death or coma, my great grandmother showed commitment to me and others by walking those last steps with me and in so many other ways. She showed me that she was committed to me until the end. Commitment came natural for her, just as it came natural for my grandmother and young aunts and others to deal with the pressure, okay, of caring for a comatose relative at home. That's how it was in previous generations. And the key word in this whole story is commitment, regardless of the situation. Commitment. And let me tell you right now, commitment is a long haul traveler. Today, that word commitment can be considered a dirty word or even a curse. And in my opinion, an ungodly spirit of independence and it's all about me and my life. as though you birthed yourself. It has crept strongly into society and often into many Christians, and is called by different names, such as my rights, my freedom, and other such my's. Yet, that is not the way that Jesus taught us, and it's definitely not the way that Jesus modeled life for us. In fact, in John 15:13, Jesus said, greater love has no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. And we know, Jesus was not telling us to go physically die, yet he was telling us to be committed to one another. Some people think that to have commitment for others means you lose yourself, you become weak, and that it sets you up to be taken advantage of. That is so untrue. And let me tell you what I'm basing this on, okay? I'm basing it on the way that Jesus lived his life. He was totally committed to us, yet he did not lose himself in his power or authority. And Jesus was not weak. In fact, just the opposite. And Jesus was never taken advantage of. Being in godly commitment is really, it's the time when you begin to see the real you, and it's often the time that you gain discernment to really see others for who they really are or how they really are. Commitment does not mean that others will become who or what you want them to be. That may never happen. But it means that you will remain authentic and on target for the object of your commitment, whatever that object is. Commitment does not mean that people will not reject you. In fact, unevolved people, as I like to call them, can actually get offended and run when you begin to show them commitment, and they can even act out. Some people will actually attack you and perhaps even become passive aggressive towards you when you show them godly commitment, where you're expecting nothing back. It can just freak them out. That is often because they are not used to anyone showing them genuine commitment. They are used to the fakes, the phonies, the abusers, and the users. Jesus was in commitment, total commitment to us, even in spite of ourselves back in the day, in the first century, and also today. Commitment is not swayed by other people's unhealthiness or their brokenness or their dis-ease or disease or their dysfunction. Commitment is a long haul traveler. The Bible is a book of commitment from Genesis to Revelation. It is God's commitment to us in spite of us, even when we don't act like we are committed to God. God made a commitment to himself to never leave us or forsake us, and never means never. There are consequences for our actions and decisions, yet they do not stop God's commitment to us. The people, the people that Jesus loved abandoned him and they crucified him. Yet, Jesus said in Luke 23:34, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And after the betrayal by the disciples, Jesus still called them his friends, okay? They left him out to hang high. They ran away. And still, Jesus called them friends. In John chapter 21, verse 5, Jesus said, Friends, have you any fish or haven't you any fish? They had no fish. They had no testimony, but they had the commitment of God to them. Commitment is a long haul traveler. And you can say, okay, that what I'm talking about sounds like love, okay? There is a debate, I'll tell you the truth, even today, about whether love and commitment are the same. And I'm going to leave those arguments, okay, to the scientists, to the theologians, to the language experts, to the poets, and to the people on the street, and even to you. You all figure it out and let me know. But I know this: you can love something or someone and not be committed to them. And I know this, okay? You can be committed to someone or something and not love them. In fact, you can even live in commitment to something or be committed to something that is not good for you or to you or could even be harming you. So to me, they're different, but y'all figure it out and let me know, okay? But I'm calling it commitment right now. Now, once again, the Bible speaks of commitment from Genesis through Revelation. Yet it calls it really by other names. Give you a few examples. In Deuteronomy 31 and 6, Moses, knowing that he would not be going into the promised land, he told his successor, um, Joshua, he told him, be strong and courageous, okay? Don't be afraid, okay, or terrified because of them, all right? For the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Never leave you nor forsake you. That's commitment. Translation: God's commitment to you will always cover you. Okay. And it covers us. It covers us. The author of the book Hebrews, whom we don't know who the author is, but the author, he actually pulled that verse out of the archives of the Old Testament and used it to warn, okay, to warn people, the people of his day and time, and to warn us to not allow one of humanity's strongest objects of commitment, what people really get committed to. I'm talking about money and wealth. The Hebrews author warned them to not let it block our true source. In Hebrews 13 and 5, it reads, all right. Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have. Because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. So we say with confidence, the Lord is on my side, okay? The Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Translation: God's commitment to you will always cover you. And one more. Jesus would not leave the earth until he told his disciples and basically told us. And very familiar verse. I'm reading Matthew 28:18. Okay. And it reads, okay. All authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely, for sure, I am with you always to the very end of the age. Okay, all right. Translation: God's commitment to you will always, always, always cover you. Once again, commitment is a long haul traveler. So I ask, will we do like Jesus and live in commitment? Okay, commitment to and with one another. In the places where life may have bruised us, will we work on those areas through prayer, through using God's word as medicine, through whatever is godly necessary to bring those bruises into health so we can give and receive godly commitments? It is possible, folks, to block God's blessings because of an inability or refusal to live in commitment to God and to people. My great grandmother and a few generations after her knew that their personal and their community survival depended on their level of commitment. Okay? They came that far by faith, by living commitment. My prayer is that you and I not be deceived, but instead live commitment the way Jesus taught us and the way that Jesus showed us. Commitment, folks, is a long haul traveler, but it's the only way. So let's just stay on that journey, the journey of commitment. I pray this message blessed you. And if it did, share it with someone. And by all means, send us your comments. Send us your comments. And the easiest way to reach us is through our website. That's at www.ffiministries.com. That's www.ffiministries.com. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you will join us again next Wednesday, next Wisdom Wednesday. God bless you.